All right, welcome back to another special edition of 50 Shades of Maintenance, the pre-WSFA YouTube panel edition. This is 3 of 3, or 3 of 5 rather. So tonight we have Lauren with us. So again, another person probably most folks already know, but we're going to try and dive a little deep here. And for anybody who's new to the community, who's coming to WSFA, is looking forward to putting some shows on their panel, this is, I think, a critical panel to be in, especially if you don't have a lot of local support. YouTube has been a great community tool for folks. And we're going to talk to one of the people who's had huge success and has used YouTube a lot. So Lauren, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of give your starting stats, and we'll kind of go from there.
Sure. I will give my usual spiel. So I'm Lauren Losing on YouTube. I had vertical sleeve gastrectomy surgery on August 21st, 2013. My first appointment at the weight center, it was also my highest weight. So I was 269 pounds, and at 5'2", that's a pretty big girl. I was about a size 22, 24 at that point. After surgery, I lost about 25 pounds pre-surgery. So on surgery day, I was about 245. And I'm almost 4 years out at this point. So I had the classic, got down to 135, had about 20 pounds of regain. Luckily, was able to successfully tackle that and actually got off an extra 30 pounds before I had my plastic surgery. So I had plastic surgery last May. I had my arms done, my breasts done, and I had a 360. So that was done all at once. And I've been maintaining in around the 120, 117 pound range since then.
That number has to be an unreal number to you at this point. Like 117, like if you had told you you'd be 117 one day, what would that person have said?
So I always had an extremely unrealistic goal of getting down, in my mind, unrealistic goal of getting down to 115 pounds every single time I dieted. And I'd be like, you know what? I'll be happy if I get to 125, 130, but like, this is the goal that I'm going to shoot for, because I'm going to be this little itty bitty person. And that's like what my mom weighed. And she's even a couple inches shorter than me, but she was always this little tiny person. And that's what I always wanted to be. So, and I did see 115 on the scale at one point. So it's a little weird because, the mind fuck is also real. So
well, I don't talking about that.
Yeah. So like, I don't feel like it's that small anymore, just because I'm living in my body. And so it's still unreal, but it's not the same experience as I thought it would be, definitely.
So, maybe because you had that as a goal all along, maybe that number's not as strange. Is that kind of what you're saying? Or like, since you were kind of shooting for that anyway?
No, I thought that I would feel like this tiny itty bitty thing, I guess. And I guess because I never ever hit it before, I never even got close. And I would start at like 215 though, or like 195, and then I'd be like projecting to try to get down to 115. So it wasn't exactly realistic to begin with, but yeah, it's a little strange.
Yeah, that's cool. So let's tell folks who don't know what kind of pushed you. What was the moment that kind of pushed you to the WLS pathway? Like, what was? I know I probably should preface this again. Some people will be watching and get mad at this, but probably another situation where you were big when you're already still pretty young. So you were big when you're younger, and I'm sure you've tried every diet on the planet like the rest of us have. And then what pushed you to finally be like,
My final thing. So weight loss surgery had been brought up to me. So I had weight loss surgery when I was 28. It had been brought up to me probably when I was about 24 or 25 by someone who had done it. But she explained to me that, most insurances have this 6 month waiting period and all this stuff. And I was like, well, I can lose a good amount of weight in 6 months on my own. So why would I do that? So I wasn't done trying on my own. So It was December of 2012. So we were going into a new year, and I was like, I am not making another New Year's resolution to lose weight and being unsuccessful. Like, I've tried. I went on my first diet when I was 7 or 8 years old. So I've been trying for 20 years. And yeah, I've had some success, but I've always gained it back and then some. I'm done with the roller coaster. I'm done with the yo-yo. This is it. I'm making this decision.
So you definitely had the so you would you put yourself in the lifetime fat category then?
So it's weird. I would put myself on the lifetime struggle bus, basically, because there have been times in my adolescence and even in my young adulthood where I was considered a normal size. So like my freshman year of high school, I was like a size 6. By my senior year, I was like a size 16. And then when I was 20 years old, I had successfully lost 80 pounds. So I went from 220 to 140, doing a extremely low calorie, 500 calorie a day diet through a hospital that was like medically monitored. But yeah, so like there have been times in my life where I was seen as more normal, but it was never anything that was maintainable.
Right. Do you think that I'm interested in that regard too, if you feel like because you had those periods of normalcy whatever that is, but you know what I mean, those periods where you would fit in the normal category or whatever, that how that affected your like, you know, socializing or dating or anything like that when you were younger?
It was the main thing that was difficult in high school, honestly, is that I did dance since I was 3 years old. So, I mean, yeah, I went through the chubby stages when I was a kid, but all through middle school, the highest I got up to was like 150 pounds. So, I mean, I was short, but granted, that wasn't that crazy. So I had lost 25 pounds doing a low carb diet at the start of high school. So that's when I started at my smallest to be like a size 6. But with all the emotional stuff that happened through high school, I got really depressed and was dealing with that a lot. And because I was focusing on that, I was kind of using food to deal with it. So I gained a lot of weight throughout high school. And the biggest effect it had on me was dance. I didn't want to be on stage with all these other small girls. I wasn't like fitting into the costumes anymore. So it really, my confidence really kind of dropped. I already, like I said, was going through depression. I already wasn't super confident. And then that didn't help. It was kind of a snowball effect a little bit.
So the weight kind of, I don't want to say stole, but like blocked off the opportunity of dance a little bit more for you than it had in the past. Were there any other opportunities or things that you felt like were kind of like neglected to you from being overweight, or did you just kind of...
I did have a little bit of the classic sad girl high school experience in that my junior year, I had to like, I wasn't asked. So I had to ask a sophomore who I didn't even know, because I just needed a date to prom. And luckily, my senior year, my gay best friend broke up with his boyfriend like 2 weeks before. So he was my date. But like, I kind of had those classic sad fat girl experiences for social things in high school, even though I had a huge group of friends that included guys, and we were good friends. But they wanted to date, you know, my cute friends. I was the fat friend. And I wasn't even the fat funny friend. I was just the fat girl friend.
And how many of them have jumped off bridges now that they have seen your progress? How many of them are drinking themselves to death as we speak right now?
I can confirm that I have gotten a couple of douchey messages from guys that I knew in high school. That is confirmed.
The struggle is real. But I mean, that surprises me, to be honest with you, because I think that you were always very, from the day I met you, and I met you fairly early on enough where you were still in the heavier stage, where you were very vivacious and outgoing and very flirty. And I mean, like, I didn't seem like,
and that was always my personality. And honestly, after high school, my weight didn't slow me down. Like when I was in my small town, everybody knows each other. Everybody grew up with each other. This is the cute girl. You know, did you have that experience in high school too, where like that didn't really change? Like, I don't know. It was like, this was the cute guy, this was the cute girl. Like people kind of always had crushes on those specific people, and it just didn't change. So
yeah.
After I left high school though, like once I went to college and once I was out in like the real world, my weight really didn't hold me back from dating at all.
So yeah, to answer your question, it's funny because I was just at my son's, some of their pre-graduation stuff. I went to after prom last night, but before that we went to a senior luncheon, and they were flashing all the kids' pictures across the screen at the award ceremony. And it's so funny, you could look at them and say, oh, there's so-and-so from when I was in high school. Like you could almost tag all the kids that were the people you remember being there's the cute athletic one, there's the jock guy, and there's the, like, you could just, all the roles are still there. It's kind of funny. I mean,
yeah.
History does repeat itself. So let's before I get there. So did you, how deep into the selfish phase did you have to get during the weight loss period? I mean, did you have to go super selfish? Did you kind of have problems with family, friends, coworkers, or?
I'm still in the selfish phase, honestly. I'm no longer in the know-it-all phase, I don't think.
I think so. Luckily I avoided that. I felt that coming on and I just shut
Oh God, I can't even watch my videos from like week 12-ish, and I started making them at week 9. There's a certain group of videos that I cannot watch of my own because I'm like, you sound like a douchebag. But I've been talking to other people about this, and I know that not everybody can afford this luxury, in the fact that a lot of other people are married or have kids and have to put other people before themselves at least part of the time. I almost never have to do that. So I'm kind of still in the selfish phase, and if I don't meet, so say with dating, dating has been difficult for me simply because I put myself first now. In the past, in order to date, would have said, okay, well, I'm not going to go to the gym tonight because I have a date to go on, or I haven't been drinking, but I'm going out for drinks with this guy, so like I'll do that. I don't want to sacrifice that kind of stuff anymore. If it will fit into my schedule and if I'm able to fit it in, then that's great. But yeah, I think that at least partially being selfish is kind of essential to success.
Yeah, and I think one, maybe I'm coming at this from a jaded perspective, but I think when we talk about selfish, it's what everybody else just calls letting themselves be part of the equation. Because I think I mean, maybe this wasn't your experience, but I know there's a lot of people who are heavy tend to bend to fit in. They bend their needs around the people around them, and not that it's they don't get something out of those relationships, but it just seems like tend to be more malleable to adjust to other people's needs, and then put our needs kind of later in the equation. And I think that's compounded when you have kids, obviously, because you put your kids first, or if you're married, you try and put your spouse before you. But yeah, I think you make a good point. If you can be selfish and just be by yourself, you should, especially during that phase, and work through it.
And you know what I also learned though is that through like all my history with depression and stuff like that, I was busy putting everybody else first, trying to make everybody else happy, and that made me miserable. Like worthless, helpless, hopeless. So I learned that in order for me to just be happy with my life, there are certain needs of mine that I need to put first. And like I said, then if I can fit you in, if I'm able to easily meet those needs, then cool. Also, I mean, it is of mention that for a living, I do put, other people first 40 days a week, 40 hours a
That's
week.
a good point.
So it's like, I can't do that for everybody in my life, So, yeah, it's important for me to at least keep part of that selfishness.
Did you end up losing any friends in that process, or having struggles with family members, or anything like that?
I don't know which part of it. I definitely have lost contact with a good amount of my friends. I really do feel like it's my fault though. Like I feel like I've made so many. I'm one of those people who's not good at keeping in contact with like a large group of people. It's almost like I have a finite group of people that I can keep in contact with. And through the YouTube community, I met so many new people that I had this new exciting thing in common with that unfortunately I kind of neglected some of my friendships. So I wouldn't say that it was them. I honestly would say it was mostly my fault.
And did you feel like those relationships weren't as nurturing, or after you kind of went through the process, or you got busy with, like you said, you had I can do 10 people over here, I can do 10 people over here, and these people over here understand all these things? I mean, was it something simple as that, or did you just feel like there was?
It wasn't quite as simple as that. I mean, there were definitely relationships that were struggling to begin with, I guess. It's like I said, I'm single, I don't have kids. So I have friends who got married, had kids, they wanted to be around other families and, other kids for their kids to play with and all that stuff. And then other people like busy with life in general. I did have a couple of experiences where like I had friends get a little jealous, but I feel like that all kind of recovered. Like it was like a small blip in the radar and I didn't really pay attention to it. I was like, meh, that's their problem. And they ended up kind of getting over it.
That sounds pretty healthy, actually. I could take a page out of that book. Let's see. So let's see. We'll get into some of the more fun stuff. So, okay. Before we get onto the fun stuff, what I call the fun stuff. So you did this fairly young, which is kind of an advantage. And then I always say I'd go back and do it sooner, right? If I could, if I knowing what I know now, I'd do it sooner. But do you feel like there are? It's a two-part question, I guess. So are there any are there any things or doors that have been opened up for you that you didn't think would be open for you? Like you just kind of written off, like, well, I'm never going to have that because I'm too big, or I'm never going to be a ballet dancer again because of X or Y or whatever. Or are there things that like, well, shoot, I wish if I had done this sooner, I could have still done X or Y. Is there anything like that for you?
I really don't think that. I think that I did it, honestly, not to toot my own horn, but I think I did it at the perfect time because, like I said, there's so much that I've dealt with, like emotionally and personally in the past, that I think that if I had done it earlier, that I wouldn't have been mentally prepared to deal with it, and I wouldn't have been this sounds a little crazy, but I wouldn't have been like mentally stable enough to deal with all of the changes and to have the confidence in myself that I could do it. So I don't wish that I had done it sooner. Do I wish that I had gotten to that mental place in my life earlier? Sure, but I don't think that where I had been, I should have done it sooner. As for things that or doors that have opened, I don't know. I don't know if doors have necessarily opened, but people's perceptions of me have definitely changed, and that's been interesting to observe. I've had people ask me if I'm a marathon runner. I've had people ask me if I'm a boxer. Like all these, like all these very like athletic, like, oh, I look at you and this is what I see. And that's been extremely interesting to me. I had people ask me if I'm in training to do a bikini competition, like a fitness competition. So like that's been different.
That's
But
gotta be wild.
I mean, those are technically almost like doors that have opened. It's like, oh, okay. I guess if I wanted to do those things, I could,
right.
which I would never have thought. So yeah, I think that's probably the closest I can think, because like I said, with dating, I really never struggled before, although that has been interesting, but I don't know if you want to get into that now. But
oh, it's coming. It's coming.
I was gonna say that, yeah, that's been interesting, definitely, especially post plastics.
Yeah, well, I definitely want to get to that. So you talked about this and you segued perfectly into it. So what was your mind F moment? What was the mind fuck moment?
Okay, I don't know. So I was going through, it was probably about 1.5 years post-op, where I started to go through a little bit of a more like emotionally stressful time. And I was fortunate enough that before that, I pretty much had no emotional stress. I wasn't even working for the first 9 months post-op. So I was really able to focus on myself, like 100%. So when I started to go through something a little difficult, I completely reverted back to old habits and the way I used to emotionally deal with things, which would be to lay in my bed a lot, isolate, avoid, and snack all day and on unhealthy things. So I naturally gained weight back. So I guess my mind fuck came when I gained 15, 20 pounds back, and I felt like I was 260 pounds again.
That seems like the normal experience for that too. Everybody says the same thing.
I did though. Like not even just those habits that I went back to. I went back to wearing all black, which I did when I was fat. I went back to wearing sweatshirts. I didn't want anything to be seen. Like I completely went backwards. So yeah, that's kind of when my mindfuck happened.
How dangerous do you think that phase is? I mean, I think everybody hits it, but
and everybody hits it at different times too. Yeah. I think it's honestly, I think it's important because there are points in your weight loss. I guess it's different for everybody, but there are points in your weight loss where you will feel like you're invincible. So I think it's kind of important to get knocked back down a peg or two every once in a while.
I cannot disagree. There is a little bit of cockiness that comes with it. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it wasn't fun to go through, but I think it was kind of necessary.
So now you're kind of like the poster kid of this thing. I mean, it's so great, and we'll talk a little bit about as we talk about plastics too about that. But do you have any, like, I won't say hard feelings, but do you still have issues where you're like, man, I wish I could, I still have to really watch what I eat. I still have to work out all the time. I can't like just be nonchalant and enjoy drinks and enjoy ice cream and enjoy these things. Like, because even if I indulge a little bit, that has negative effects right away. Or do you have that experience, or is that not your experience?
Well, so honestly, that was also part of, you bring up a good point. I completely forgot about this part. That was also part of the mindfuck. Was I was done. I had been watching what I ate for 1.5 years. I had been dieting for 1.5 years. And even though we are told and we know intelligently that this is a lifestyle change, I think in my mind, I was still in the I'm dieting mindset. So I was done, and I was like, I don't want to worry about this anymore, so I'm not gonna. So it was, in order for me to, get off my regain and continue to kind of be successful, I think it was really important for me to get in my mindset that I'm not dieting. And I didn't do I didn't do a crash diet to get the regain off. I just started doing what I should have been doing and continuing to do all along. And I think that's why I have been able to be successful, because I did change my mindset, and I don't feel like I'm missing out, and I don't mind not drinking except for when I go on vacation, and I really don't feel deprived, and I still eat good things, and good tasting things, but it's just the way that I make it. And so I definitely had to change my mindset from I'm losing weight to I'm living a healthy life.
And so mentally, you're pretty good with the fact that, and I don't mean this in a like a bitter way or anything, but like you're just like, okay, that's just never going to be all that stuff I see these other people doing that are my age and my size, and they're able to go out and indulge and stuff, but that's just never going to be me. And you're kind of okay with that emotionally. I mean, mentally I get it, but emotionally you're still good with it.
I don't know if this is gonna sound cocky or not, but the people that I see indulging in stuff and saying, okay, whatever, I'm gonna eat this, aren't in as good shape as I am. Honestly, the people that I see saying, oh, that's okay, or oh, I'm gonna drink all the time and whatever, like, they pay for it. Like, maybe not in your early 20s, maybe not in your teens, but like I'm in my 30s now. Like,
yeah, you're in the real. You're starting to get into the real times.
Yeah, like I see it, and I'm like, I don't know about that. And I know that there are some people who have had weight loss surgery who are of the belief that we all are food addicts. I do not classify myself as a food addict. I don't obsess about food. I don't mourn the fact that I can't finish my plate when I can't. I don't think about food all day. I just don't identify as that. I think that I had a maladaptive coping mechanism at times with food. When I get depressed and when I stress, some people eat, some people stop eating. I eat. Obviously that's not my only issue, but I just don't identify that way. So I really don't feel like I don't feel bitter about it.
So you bring up a good point. Did you have a transfer for that during the process? I think I know what the answer is, but I'm curious.
Well, I had a spending issue before surgery, so let's just say that continued.
When you started to fit in all the cute stuff and all the things you wanted to wear.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, well, it fits now. I have to buy it, right?
Right. And there are some people out there who are like, oh, I'm only going to buy clothes every 3 sizes. I'm like, nope, I'm going to buy a full wardrobe for every single size. So yeah, I definitely went a little overboard with my shopping, but that wasn't necessarily any different from before.
So did you hit the 3-year blues or did you escape that? And I think this will dovetail into your plastics, but we'll see. Yeah,
I didn't at all.
That would have been my answer if you'd asked me if I thought you'd had it.
I hit the 2-year blues, definitely. Like,
did you really?
That's kind of when I had my regain. And it was right around that mark because, everybody does the before and after on their surgiversary and stuff. And I remember not wanting to take those pictures on the 2-year and not wanting to post and not wanting to do an update video. In fact, my 2-year surgery update was like a month later, and it was me addressing my regain. It was that video. So that's why I remember when it was.
So you never did the weight loss with the end goal of like, I'm just going to do the weight loss and that's it. You knew you were going to do plastics for as long as I've known you, I think you've known that.
Mm-hmm. I knew that from the very beginning, from the amount of times that I had gained and lost weight. So when I had lost those 80 pounds when I was 20, that was, 10 years prior to when I had my plastics. And even then I had some like loose skin issues. So I knew that I wasn't super confident with my body that way. And that I mean, it definitely played into dating and stuff like that, but it more came with how I carry myself and how I did not feel confident in my skin, and how I didn't want to live the rest of my life feeling that way. Because being relatively young, I didn't want to carry around the skin for the rest of my life.
I will tell you, and I think I've told you this before, and I've definitely told other people, but I think, for me, it was like, oh yeah, no, I get why she would want to do it. And then, I mean, as far as like, yeah, if I was young and single, I'd want to have it all done too. And I thought it purely from a physical perspective. And then I even thought about it from myself from a physical perspective. I'm like, I'm older, I'm 45, I got my kids. Like, I don't know, I'm never going to be like I'm never going to be a model at 45. Right. So, I'm like, do I bother? Whatever. It's just for me, it was just a vanity thing. But and I didn't think that necessarily about other people, but just for me. But it was like somebody turned a light on inside of you after you had surgery. Like after your plastics, you were glowingly, emotionally healthier in my eyes. Like you just looked happier and healthier, and you had a total different glow about you. And I never accounted for the emotional side of that. I never even thought about it from that perspective. And it really made me rethink plastics completely. To kind of talk a little bit about what that really meant for you.
So it's funny because a lot of other people noticed it after. It was just such a relief for me because, like you said, ever since even you met me and since before I had weight loss surgery, I knew that plastic surgery was coming with my weight loss surgery. So I had planned for plastics for longer than I had planned for weight loss surgery. So it was just kind of this big event that was coming that I was looking forward to, that I had worked very hard for. And with the skin, I really did let it hold me back. It just really affected my confidence in being a young person and living in what I viewed as a 90-year-old looking body. Like I had the shrinkles, I had saggy skin, it didn't look right. Especially since I was a relatively small size with my clothes on and I was pretty good at hiding it. Like it wasn't necessarily very obvious. So when I was able to have my plastics and feel like I was given pretty much the body that I would have had I not abused my body for so long, for so many years, it felt like a huge relief, and it felt like I was able to fully live. And not that I was like super restricting myself before, but I definitely I didn't date for the 6 months before I had plastic surgery because I was focusing on myself, and that's what I was focusing on. But yeah, I just felt like it was kind of the last thing that was holding me down. So it just felt really freeing. Even if no one ever saw my body in a bathing suit, or they couldn't tell from, like with my clothes on, I could tell and I could feel it, and I just no longer felt that restriction.
Do you think there's been a power shift in your own perception in the dating world now that you've had your plastics and stuff? I mean, now that you have that confidence in that sense of like, like this is the body I always dreamt of, and this is the one I've worked hard for, and that sense of achievement, do you think that has kind of changed the way you look for people that you date and the kinds of things you expect?
So it's very interesting, Phil. But before I had plastic surgery, or even after, when guys find out that I had weight loss surgery, I have never had one guy have a problem with the fact that I had weight loss surgery. I have encountered a few guys who have a problem with the fact that I had plastic surgery.
What?
Yes. So no. Yes. So that's interesting. I think it comes from an uneducated point of view, or ignorant point of view. I think that some guys just have a thing like, no, plastic surgery, that's fake, you're superficial, I don't like fake boobs, something like that. But yeah, so that has been a surprise for me. I did not think I thought that maybe guys might not like the scar that I have. I'm like, I don't really give a shit if you don't like my scar.
I think that would
But
matter.
no, it's been even before they met me. It's been like through like dating apps and stuff. Like if I talk about it, like, or if they see my Instagram, because I have my Instagram connected, so I don't have to maybe explain it that much. Yeah. So
wow, I never would have thought this.
So it has changed my dating pool a little bit, but not in the way. I mean, I am definitely more.
Yeah, but don't you just blow this? Like, I mean, you have the confidence.
Of course,
so
I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
Eat a bag of, yeah, exactly.
I mean, I will say that before, if a guy who was like super buff in the gym all the time, whatever, like wanted to go on a date with me, I'd be like, oh no, like he's not gonna be able to see all my hard work. I worked really hard, but you can't really see it yet. So that has changed definitely. Like I have no problem with dating someone who's super like athletic or super healthy. This isn't different after plastics, but this is kind of, I guess, different since weight loss surgery. I can't date someone who's like doesn't eat healthy, isn't concerned about the lifestyle they live. I was actually recently dating someone for a little bit who was like that, and I was like, and he wasn't overweight himself. He like grew up skinny and like he worked out sometimes, but he ate like shit and like ate donuts for breakfast every day and like pizza every night. I'm like, I like wanted to like cook healthy with him, and he like wanted no part of it, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I can do this.
How old is this person? In their early 30s still?
No, 38.
Oh shit, he's playing with fire. That guy.
I know.
That's gonna backfire real quick. Oh man, yeah, that's so weird.
It wasn't like about the temptation for me at all. It was more like this is a huge part of my life, and I feel like I don't need to have everything in common with the person that I'm dating, but like it's a pretty important thing for me to have in common with someone else. And like I said, you can eat pizza sometimes, you can eat ice cream sometimes, but like if your core living isn't like pretty healthy and whatever your definition of that is, keto, macros, whatever, then I can't really connect on that level with someone, I guess.
I can understand that. I mean, it's like, and again, I know what you mean. It's not really the temptation of things being around per se, because I don't think that really bothers me, except when I was first starting back onto the really low carb. I was ready to eat the plasterboard in the house, but yeah, I mean, it's not. I think I feel like. I'm wondering if you feel this way, that's why I'm asking this, but do you feel like more judgy of people? Just even like you go into a restaurant and you're like just sitting there eating your dinner or whatever, and you look over and you see what somebody else is eating, and you're like, wow, that's about 5,000 calories worth of food. Do you have those moments because of that or no?
Not necessarily. I can, I mean, I'm not going to be the food police for anybody, but if I go out with other WLS people who eat like crappy stuff, not even judgy. It's a little more like, God, I know that,
right?
I know that doesn't align with your goals. Like, why are you doing that right now? Like, why are you making excuses for yourself? Why are you holding yourself to this is basically what it all comes back to for me is everyone thinks I'm too hard on myself. I say that I hold myself to a very high standard because I know what I'm capable of. I hold other people who, in high regard because I know that they're capable of it too. So I feel like they're cheating themselves when they do those kind of things, not every once in a while, but like more regularly. And I wish that they would have more respect and hold themselves to a higher standard. I know it's not as easy as that, and I know that some people have more like food issues and stuff like that and feeling like they're missing out or cravings or food addiction issues, but that's where my perception comes from.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely would think that I know it's me projecting onto, like, it's my reality. I'm projecting that onto somebody else, or even on, like you said, it could be somebody in the weight loss community who I see just doing stupid things. And I'm like, God, why are you doing these stupid things? I don't say them, but I'm thinking it, right? And then, but then I'm like, well, that's me projecting my stuff onto them because I know if I did that, I'd be in big trouble. Like, you know, like maybe they have some kind of like okay balance with it. But I get what you're saying. I mean, it's hard to, I just tend to notice it more when I'm out and about, even with just normal people. Like if I ate that whole dinner, I would be one, sick, two, I would be 300 pounds again in no time. You know,
I mean, I do that. Like, I guess every once in a while, yeah, I'll be like, holy shit, you're eating like Shake Shack with the burger and the fries and the shake. Like, what?
How's that possible? Oh, yeah. Anybody who's like just starting up now, getting ready to do this, or still on the fence, and I mean, you've got just a litany of videos. So if they haven't found you yet, boy, are they in for a surprise when they do. But what's the best piece of like encouragement or advice you could give somebody who's just now starting out?
Oh man, I always say like follow the rules, but I'm gonna qualify and quantify that a little bit more, I guess. There were, I think, fewer options and fewer temptations when you and I both started out. Did you ever hear of Halo Top when we first started, or Enlightened, or any of that stuff that is supposed? Yeah, I mean, and yes, I eat it, and I eat it in small quantities. I see people who are 6 weeks out who are eating Halo Top and like Enlightened, and
that's a maintenance food. That's not a losing food.
And like, I get it. It's exciting. There are so many more options, so many more high protein, you know, tasty, almost cheat-ish options out there, but stick to the basics. Like, eat as healthy as you can for as long as you can. Like, follow the rules, but use a straw if you need to. People commented on that on my most recent video because I said follow the rules, and then I said I use a straw, and they were like, oh, and I was like, yeah, whatever, it's a fucking straw.
Yeah, you know, I'll tell you, I think you get more water in if you drink a straw. If you have problems getting your water in,
that was the question. Use a straw. I have problems getting my fluids in. What do I do? And I said use a straw.
Yeah, it works. It absolutely works.
And just focus on yourself and put yourself in your journey as close to first as you possibly can, without hopefully sacrificing any very important relationships to you. But yeah, I mean, my advice is pretty basic, but I feel like it is not followed very often.
There's a saying in shooting where it's like it's really easy to shoot hard. It's not simple. I mean, it's really easy to shoot well. It's not simple. In other words, I'm sorry, it's simple, it's not easy. So like you have to just do these things. So it's such simple things, but they're not easy to do. You have to do them consistently. So it's kind of funny.
Yeah. It's like that's the other thing. Consistency is key. I mean, do I want to say this? It's really hard for me. I don't know if you have the same experience, but it's really hard for me at this point in my, and I hate the word journey, but in my journey to watch new out people, because one, the cocky face, like it's just painful for me to watch. And I, like I said, I can't even watch my videos when I was in my know-it-all phase. But the I'm in a stall if I haven't lost weight in 5 days, I'm not losing weight anymore, I lost a pound this week, I'm at week 6, I must be done. Like, the dramatics, I can't really deal with anymore. So like, trust the process is another one of my old phrases there that is my favorite. So that would be a big one to newbies. Trust the process.
I used to go and watch videos of people who were about 3 or 4 weeks ahead of me at all times. So I was always 3 or 4 weeks ahead, so I knew what to kind of expect was coming, and that helps a lot. So where can they find your YouTube channel? I think it's right in the title, but go ahead and give it away.
So my YouTube channel is Lauren Losing.
That's going to be the screenshot for the video right there.
Oh God. And then I actually even have a bigger following on Instagram now. I didn't start consistently using my Instagram until the past year or so. And I think I'm up to like 17,000 followers or something on Instagram. So you can find me there too. It's Law Dayton, LAUDAYTON.
Nice. All right. Well, we will both be at the panel in a WLSFA, which is coming up on the 19th through the 21st of May. There are still tickets available. You can still get there. Our panel is going to be, it has been moved, but for good reason. We're moving to the 4 o'clock slot on Saturday, which will be the last panel of the day. The beauty of that is we'll be able to have a bigger room where we can have more folks in there, and we'll be able to probably have a Q&A session. We will cap it, though, at about the hour-and-a-half mark because the ladies need to get ready for dinner. And
we got to get pretty.
Yes, and John and I need to wait patiently while they do that. So,
Right.
Yes, well, thank you for doing this, and guys, I'm hoping next week we'll have another video up. I think we're gonna get Ange next week, so I get to meet another person who's still in the losing phase and still really killing it, and then we'll touch more on how to use YouTube and the strengths and pluses and minuses of YouTube and all of the trials and tribulations that the ladies have been through along their journeys there at the actual WSA event. So if you want to see that, you got to go to the event. So hopefully we'll see you there. So until next time, remember, don't define your world in black and white because there's so much hiding amongst the gray.